Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today I'm bringing you my ultimate Fiddlesticks rune guide. This is going to be including all the different rune pages for all the different roles that you can play Fiddlesticks in, which in my opinion are 4. Fiddlesticks top, mid, jungle and support. In case you don't know who I am, I hit Challenger on Fiddlesticks top lane on EOS last season, and I also hit 980 LP on Fiddlesticks mid last season. I've hit Master with Fiddlesticks jungle, and I've also hit Master with Fiddlesticks support. So therefore I think I'm quite qualified to do a guide like this. If you have any questions or if you do not agree with something, then always let me know in the comments. I'm always down for a friendly discussion. Keep in mind this is just my own subjective opinion, so you don't necessarily have to copy everything. You should always be thinking for yourself. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. So let's get started with Fiddlesticks mid lane and top lane. For me, those are in the same category because you use the same exact rune pages. The first rune page that I want to talk about is Aery. Here you always take, well obviously Aery, right? Then always take Mana Flow Band, always take Scorch, and then you want to be taking Transcendence most of the games. If you really want to be min-maxing, you can take Absolute Focus some games. If you don't need the ability haste at all and you just want all-in damage, then Absolute Focus is better. But I wouldn't really worry about this unless you're in like high elo and you want to be min-maxing your runes. So usually just Transcendence is really great because ability haste is awesome on Fiddlesticks, especially in lane. So when do you want to be taking Aery and what are the advantages? Aery gives you great lane pressure, really good damage in lane, and it's very consistent. You can proc it with your auto attacks, but also with all of your abilities, and it has a really low cooldown compared to Comet. Disadvantages are that it falls off quite a lot in late game. You want to be taking this if you want to be having a strong lane, you want to be looking to poke your enemy, and if you just want to have good damage in general, right? If you are against a ranged champion, however, you want to be taking Comet instead, right? Comet is very similar to Aery, but it has longer cooldowns and it has like a longer range, obviously. Like you can proc it on your E and your E has a really long range. You want to be taking this against champions that outrange you basically, right? Like Cassiopeia, like Lux, like Zeref, like Vel'Koz, those type of champions. Comet is great against. The only disadvantages are that it has a longer cooldown and it can be avoided / dodged. For example, some champions that have shields in their kit, like Orianna, like Karma, like Victor, they can just block your Comet and your keystone is useless. And in those cases, you want to be taking Aery instead. If you're more interested in what runes to take in which matchups, I have a spreadsheet which includes all the mid lane matchups for Fiddlesticks, and I also talk about runes there, like which rune pages to take and which keystones to take. So I'm going to link that in the description below if you're interested in that. So for secondary rune pages, you have different choices here. You have 3 different choices if you run sorcery first, right? So the first one that I used to go every game last season was this one. It was Domination with Taste of Blood and Ultimate Hunter. But now with the addition of Malignance, Ultimate Hunter has become kind of obsolete. Like, you don't really need it anymore. If you go Malignance, then you don't need Ultimate Hunter anymore. If you don't build Malignance, then go either Taste of Blood or Sudden Impact. Taste of Blood is great for lane sustain, and Sudden Impact gives you good all-in damage, and then obviously Ultimate Hunter. So if you do build Malignance, however, this is what you want to be going. You go either Inspiration or Resolve. I'm a big fan of Inspiration, especially Cosmic Insight. I think it's like a low-key a must-take on this new map, because the new map is a lot broader, a lot bigger, which makes it harder for you to reach people with your ultimate. And that's why Flash has become so much more important, and Cosmic Insight reduces your Flash cooldown, right? I usually take it in combination with Futures Market. Futures Market is just great for hitting your item spikes 1 to 2 minutes earlier. But you can also choose a bunch of different runes here. For example, you could go Minion Dematerializer. Here you want to be putting 2 minion demons on the melee minions and then 1 on the ranged minion. And this makes your wave play a lot smoother. It makes you kill the entire wave in 2 Ws. So that's also a great choice to have if you want to do more wave clear. If you know you're not going to be roaming, you can also take Magical Footwear, because Magical Footwear allows you to focus on building your first item instead, and it allows you to hit your first item faster. And it also gives you free boots, right, which have also a lot more movement speed than the normal boots. So if you're not going to be roaming, then you can take Magical Footwear. Or you can also take Triple Tonic, which in my opinion is really underrated on Fiddlesticks. I think it's super great. Elixir of Force gives you 20 AP at level 6, which is like awesome if you're going to be fighting with your ult, right? It basically guarantees a solo kill. And then the Elixir of Skill is super nice to have because it gives you an extra point in your Q, which makes your fear longer. So here, as I said, I think you should take Cosmic Insight every game, and then you can choose between those 4 runes. And then the last secondary rune page that you can take is Resolve. Here you want to be choosing between either Second Wind or Bone Plating. Bone Plating you take against most melee champs, like champs that cannot proc your Bone Plating easily and they have like a lot of burst. That's when you want to be taking Bone Plating. And Second Wind is good against any ranged champions that poke you. And then you always want to be taking Revitalize. Revitalize is super great on Fiddlesticks. It heals you for about 1000 to 2000 extra health every game on average, which is really great, right, for like a mini rune. So I think you should definitely be looking into Resolve a lot more, especially if you're playing top lane, because it makes you so much more tankier. And then for Shards, you always want to be taking double Adaptive Force. You can take Ability Haste. I'm not a big fan of it, however. I think the double Adaptive just gives you a lot more damage and a lot of more agency. And then you want to be choosing between either health or health scaling. Here the choices. If you're against, like, if you really need the flat health, let's say against like a Talon, you really need flat health because he has a lot of early game threat, then you want to be taking this. If you're in like a matchup where there's less kill threat on you, then you can just take scaling health. Now, for the third rune page, we have First Strike. First Strike is usually going to look like this. And then, so First Strike is really great for scaling, right? First Strike is really consistent. It gives you a lot of gold. You get a lot of gold also from free boots, from Futures Market, and the Cosmic Insight is really great to have. It does, however, make you a lot weaker in lane. So I would only recommend taking this into a scaling free matchup, right? A matchup where neither side has a lot of kill pressure, and a matchup where you just want to scale. A matchup like this would include something like Aery, for example, would come to mind. I don't really think you have a lot of kill pressure on Aery if she plays correctly, and she can kill you either. So you just take First Strike and you try to scale up and farm up. I would always be taking these two. You could also take Minion Demons, of course, but I think Futures Market is just better. And then, because you take it in combination with First Strike, right? And then you can reach your item spikes so much earlier. And then here I have the choice between Triple Tonic and Magical Footwear again. And secondary, this is what I used to run. Sudden Impact in Ultimate Hunter or Taste of Blood in Ultimate Hunter. But as I said, if you build Malignance, then just take Resolve secondary. The fourth rune page is Electrocute. Electrocute is quite nice to have against really squishy enemy champions, right? What Electrocute does, it gives you a ton of burst damage in your all-in combo. It basically guarantees you're gonna one-shot a squishy, and it gives you, well, a lot of short burst damage, like short-term burst damage. Like, it's great if you're gonna be playing a lane where you only like do short trades. So the number one lane that would come into mind for this is LeBlanc. Because LeBlanc wants to jump in, she like wants to QW you and auto attack you and then jump back, right? And that's why I think Electrocute is great into her, because you can fear her and then EW, you proc your Electrocute and you out damage her super hard. It does make you a bit weaker in most lanes because it has a longer cooldown than Aery or Comet, and it's kind of hard to proc it, right? If they're ranged, it's really hard to proc it. If they're melee, it's easier to proc it. It depends. So for me, this is like it's first of all a question of playstyle. If you, some people just prefer Electrocute. I'm really not that big of a fan of it, but it's pretty decent and does a lot of damage. So you can definitely run this. And then secondary, I would always be going Precision. I would go Presence of Mind or Coup de Grace. Presence of Mind is just really great for mana, and you're going to be lacking mana a lot because you have no mana flow ban. So Presence of Mind is great, and then Coup de Grace does like a lot of damage to low health champions, which is a synergy with Electrocute, right? Because you just want to be bursting someone. Or you could also go Resolve if you want to. And then the last rune page for Fiddlesticks mid or top is Aftershock. It's gonna look like this. You have the choice between Second Wind or Bone Plating again, and these two are set in stone. You never want to change these. So I'm kind of a big hater of Aftershock. I really think it's not that good. But there has been like some Korean guys who played this and they had a success with this, so I'm just including this. I think I would mainly take Aftershock if I'm not the primary AP damage source of my team, right? If I have like a Nidalee, if I have like a Lilia in my jungle, who are gonna be dealing enough AP damage already, then you could run this instead, and you could function as a sort of frontline CC bot for your team. You could be like a peel machine for your ADC or for your other carries, and your goal is just to buy space and time with your ult and your tankiness. Here I would always be taking Sorcery secondary with Mana Flow Band and Transcendence. I think Mana Flow Band is really necessary because you're gonna be building tank items with Aftershock, right? You're gonna be like building like Zhonya's first or some sort of tank items, and a lot of tank items do not have mana in them. So Mana Flow Band is really great to have, and then Transcendence obviously for the ability haste, since you want to be functioning as a sort of CC bot. Ability haste is super great to have, and then also on takedown you get your cooldowns refunded, so this is really great. I would only be taking Sorcery secondary with Aftershock. Now for Fiddlesticks jungle, you have two rune pages that you can choose from basically, right? The first one is gonna be First Strike with Domination secondary. You always take these three. You can take Triple Tonic instead of Hexflash, but I think Hexflash is really, really good on Fiddlesticks, and it allows you to be really creative, to find new paths, avoid vision, find new old angles. But if you're not that creative, if you're not that good with Hexflash yet, then just take Triple Tonic instead. First Strike is just, well, as I said before, really consistent. I think it has a lot of synergy with Fiddlesticks jungle because you're going to be farming a lot. So yeah, this is great in about like 70 to 80% of games, I would say. And then secondary, just sudden impact on Ultimate Hunter. Reduce your ult cooldown, and a lot of times you do not build Malignance in jungle from what I've seen. A lot of people just build Liandry. So Ultimate Hunter is good here, and then sudden impact gives you a lot of burst damage when you ult. And usually what I've seen, people go health scaling because you don't really need the flat health in jungle. This does change, however, when you take Electrocute, which is the second rune page. So Electrocute you want to be taking into matchups where you're going to be fighting a lot, where you're going to get invaded, where you need a lot of early game damage. So stuff like Graves, Kindred, Nidalee, that's where I would be taking Electrocute instead. It gives you a lot more damage early game, it gives you the ability to fight back if they're going to invade you. So then I would also be taking the flat health because you're going to get invaded, so you need the flat health. And I've seen a lot of people run Precision secondary. I have a lot of people seeing go this. Yeah, you take Triumph instead of Coup de Grace because you don't need mana in jungle. You have enough like natural mana regeneration, so you take Triumph. And then you also take Coup de Grace. Or what I've also seen is that you take Water Walking, which is really great for walking, like moving around in the river. It makes you like a lot faster. You get to lanes faster, you get to ganks faster. So this is also quite nice to have in the jungle. And then Absolute Focus just gives you more like damage when you're healthy, which you're gonna be most of the time in jungle. Or the third rune page that you can take is, for example, Triple Tonic and Futures Market, or Triple Tonic and Cosmic Insight. Or you can also take Hexflash. I think this is a question of preference. As I said, I think Hexflash is really good on Fiddlesticks the more creative you are, right? So those are the two main rune pages that I would go for jungle. So now let's get started with Fiddlesticks support. I think Fiddlesticks support has a lot of variety as well. The first rune page that you could go is Glacial Augment, right? Glacial Augment is great for setting up guilds. Like you just CC them, they're slowed. You're just gonna be a CC bot if you take this. It's pretty nice to have. I think you should be taking this if you're just gonna be playing for your AD carry and you're just gonna want to be setting up guilds. You're not gonna be dealing a lot of damage with this at all. You can also take First Strike if you want more damage. First Strike is like more scaling, more damage, more money, right? This is gonna give you a lot more self-agency, and this is gonna make you a lot more dependent on your AD carry. So you have the choice here. I would not take Magical Footwear secondary. I would take either Triple Tonic or Hex Flash. The reasoning behind this is that, in my opinion, you should be roaming a lot as a support, and therefore you need boots quite early. So Hex Flash or Triple Tonic is going to give you a lot more value instead. And then you have the choice between Minion Demat or Futures Market again. I think Minion Demons are actually really underrated on support, because a lot of time people recall on Cannon Waves, right? And they think they have enough time to get back into lane. But then you can like demat the Cannon Minion and you can share it with the AD carry, and you're going to crash the wave in time for them to miss minions. So I think it's actually quite great on support. And then I would always be taking Cosmic Insight, of course, because, I mean, Summoner Spell and Item Haste Reduce is just super good to have. And here secondary, you have a lot of choice again. I would probably just go Resolve, because you're going to be fighting so much in bot lane that this extra tankiness is going to make it like a big difference. But since you don't build Malignance as a support most of the time, you can also go Ultimate Hunter instead, right? So it's up to you. It's a question of preference. I think Ultimate Hunter has a lot of value on support as well, because you need to be ulting a lot, and if you don't build Malignance, that's going to be hard, right? So the second rune page that you have is Aftershock again. Here you want to be taking Font of Life instead, because you're actually near a champion all the time, and you have the choice between these two again, and then you're going to be taking Revitalize. You can also take Ability Haste secondary in the Shards here. You don't have to necessarily, but it does make sense, because you're going to be, if you take Aftershock, you're just going to be looking to get tanky, and you're going to be looking to CC the enemy all the time, right? I would be taking Aftershock into most like engage melee CC supports like Leona, like Pyke, like Blitzcrank. I think those sort of champions who want to hook you and who want to burst you, Aftershock really helps with making you tanky and resisting their burst and soaking up their damage. So that's when I want to be taking Aftershock. You can also take Guardian. I would not take it though. I think Aftershock is just better. And then you can also take Comet, right? Comet is just really, it's my favorite rune to take on support. I think it's really good. It gives you a lot of poke, gives you a lot of lane pressure, gives you a lot of damage, and a lot of early game damage in particular. So if you want to be looking to take the game into your own hands, I would definitely be taking Arcane Comet instead over the other three. And then secondary, you have the choice again, right? Either Ultimate Hunter or Resolve. I would choose between these two, or you could also take Inspiration. That's a question of playstyle again, a question of preference. Most of the time I would probably be taking this, but if you're going to be running Comet, you can also buy Malignance, right, and then just go Resolve instead. And in bot lane, you always want to be taking flat health. Why? Because, I mean, at least in my opinion, you're going to be fighting all the time in bot lane, or a lot more than in other lanes, and therefore flat health just has a lot more value in the early game. Now, if you're really crazy, you can play Fiddlesticks APC. I don't think it's great at all. I've tried it. It's not that good. It's really hard to carry a game, but you can try to make it work. You could probably reach Master with it if you really tried, but I would recommend going Comet in Fiddlesticks APC, right? Because, I mean, 99 out of 100 games, the enemy bot lane will have at least one ranged champion, so Comet is good. You're going to be fighting a lot in early game, so you need the damage. So just take Comet, and then secondary I would take Resolve again. Since you're probably going to be building Malignance, you don't need Domination, so just go either Resolve or Inspiration. If you want to be like really, if you have like an engaged CC support as your support, then you can go Electrocute instead, because he can engage for you and you can just follow up with your burst and then try to one-shot them with your ult. So in those cases, Electrocute can be quite good as well. But yeah, if you want to try this, then I would recommend going these two rune pages. So that was all the rune pages for Fiddlesticks that I think are viable. I hope you learned something from this video, and if you liked it, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and to leave a comment, and I hope I will see you soon.